crazy hair. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another Recalculator Live. That's right, we're live here this evening. What day is today? I don't even know what day it is. What's happening? Today was Monday, wasn't it? Monday? Sure, that sounds good. Happy Monday! Welcome, all two of you. What can I do for you? How can I entertain you? A story? Funny voices? Answer your questions? What's happening? How you doing? All right? Anything going on? Anything exciting happening in your world? Pat's on. Let's see if we can get Pat Mahan in here to co-live. See if he wants to. That's always a good time. He's got amazing insights. He's a great guy. Hey, Caribbean Stan, what's happening? Welcome. Getting ready to seize opportunities with this crashing market. There you go. Make money when the market goes up, make money when the market goes down. If you know what you're doing, it doesn't matter, right? All right. Have you used manifestation? Yes. I have a certain level of integrity, and I wouldn't be here without it. Pat, is that you?
It is. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. What's happening?
What's going on, my man?
You're in guest mode. We're not co-living.
Oh, I don't know how to do that. How do I do that?
I sent you an invite, and you clicked on the invite?
Yeah.
Okay.
Try again?
I'm gonna dump you as a guest, and I'm gonna try and get you back because this is just too good an opportunity to pass up. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm gonna see if I can get Pat in here. Oh, he quit going live. That's why. Shoot. You gotta be live, Pat. Duder! I changed your life? I didn't change your life. You changed your life. But thank you for the compliment. I'll take partial credit. An answer to your question there, yes, sir. Yes, I have manifested many things: my house, my car, my life, my wife, my everything about my life. So I gotta find Pat here. Hold on. Pat, come back. Now I've lost Pat. Chat soon again. Thanks for your kindness and advice. You're very welcome, Stan. Appreciate you. Well, looks like we lost Pat now that I made him go away. That is unfortunate. He wasn't live, that's why. He was a guest instead of being a co-host. Come back, Pat. Come back. Greetings and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Recalculator Manifestation Chat. We're just here chatting about manifestation. I'm going to see if I can. There he is. Hello.
Did that work?
So glad you returned. Yes, you have to actually be live to co-host. If you're not going live yourself, then you just come in as a guest. I think that's what happened.
I see.
I think you ended your live and then you accepted and came as a guest. But anyway, you're here now.
I am.
Yay! What's happening?
What's up, my man? How's your day?
I am doing some reflection today. I have been very much out of sorts this past week, with
Okay.
the exception of course, Saturday night, which was a highlight, and we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah.
But I was actually physically ill last Wednesday, and I called into work, which oddly, I work from home. So, I mean,
Mm.
you really got to be sick to call in when you work from home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out why. And then Sunday rolls around, it's Mother's Day, and then it hits me. My mother passed away many, many years ago, more
Mm.
than 10 years ago. And I'd,
Mm.
been through all of that several times over.
Yeah.
But for some reason, gee, I wonder why. Every year, Mother's Day week, I'm a little out of sorts. It gets a little better every year that goes by. But this past Wednesday, the day that I was ill, was the anniversary of her passing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I wonder what brought all that back up, or why it's making an appearance
Mm-hmm.
now, or what that means. So I've been pondering that.
Yeah.
But on a
Did you come up
brighter
with anything?
note, huh?
What did you come up with anything from that? As far
I,
as why that might have been happening, or?
I was just pondering it, and as my mother taught me so many times, when you're emotionally distressed, you soothe yourself with food, which is why
Mm.
I'm like this, right? If you're happy,
Mm.
you
Yeah.
celebrate with food. If you're sad, you come get comfort food. If you're traveling, you got snacks in the car. If whatever.
Yeah.
So it's all about her. And so instead of going and getting snacks, I came on here to go live. I was like, going live always makes me feel better. So I'm going to
Yeah.
go live instead of eating a snack. And
Yes.
so grateful to be here. Grateful to see you too. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm grateful to be here and glad. Yeah, I just saw like a notification. Gina and I were working on something, and I saw a notification. I wasn't sure what it was, so I clicked on it real quick. I thought it could have been like a comment or something like that, and I look and it,
Mhm.
boom, it pulls me right in. We kind of like look at each other. I was like, oh, I was like, this looks like the universe wants this to happen, so I'm gonna slide on in here. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you so much. And we had a great time on Saturday. There's a commenter on my side that's Luna130704 said Saturday was awesome. Apparently she saw it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How do I sound? Do I sound any better now? I didn't have my thing hooked up in there.
Oh, you sound fine to me. I hear you just fine.
Wonderful.
All
All
right.
right. Yeah, Saturday was amazing, and I think that there was a good group of people on there from all different kind of aspects of a similar thing that we talk about as far as like creating things or more deliberately creating things. But I think that, and I think I'm glad that I got to leave on the note that I did because I had to leave a little early. But the I'm not sure what your topic is on your live. I don't want to like bleed into anything that you're
We're
not talking
fine.
about, but the we were talking about, just to back anyone up who's listening, the idea and power of belief in something, and feeling worthy, and then of course the inherent understanding as we get projected on that we're not worthy, and how to overcome that, but that there's really nothing to overcome because it's an illusion that we're not worthy, because just by the fact that you are a human being on earth, that you have this worthiness, it's a projection, and your attachment to a belief that is the thing that we need to overcome, which can be done the moment you say so. And you said that so powerfully and so passionately that I got goosebumps, and it was just perfect to like the lead out, if you will, of what I ended on there. That was just like the perfect setup for me. So I was so glad that you said that, because I love and respect everyone that was on that panel. But there was a little bit, there was a little bit of an idea of, I feel like so many of what I hear and what I see, and even what was happening, is like it's looking up at the thing, looking up at it, meaning
Yeah.
that it hasn't been there yet. We haven't gotten it yet, so we're gonna keep pretending that that's the goal, instead of realizing like, well, what would you do the day after? Again, I like to say that, like, what would you do the day after you got the thing that you wanted? And
Yeah.
someone else was talking about, like, oh, people who, are manifesting money or want to manifest this, like, what do they do? Well, they can just manifest more money, and then that'll make them happy, and you can always get more. And I'm just like, it's not that I disagree, because I do agree, but then I can't go with that being like the leading point for someone wanting to acquire or something, or create something, because I know so many people that have gotten to the heights of manifesting all the money that you can, and I know that there isn't a paycheck that is going to satisfy them, and I know that there isn't another amount of money that they're just done with it. It's not the money, and it's usually when
Right.
you really get all of the things that you said you ever wanted, that's when you find out that it's not that thing. And then what? And
Mm-mm.
then again, it's by design. This game is by design. It's to lead you back to ask the interesting questions as to why do you want what you want. Is it a reflection of who you're being and how powerful you are, and you want to use that to create something amazing? Or is it a reflection of how powerless you think you are, and then you're giving power to the thing that you think you want in an attempt to get it and now feel powerful, and then you get it and realize that you're left with you again? And this constant loop of, of hopefully breaking things down enough so that you can realize your own power. But sometimes it takes getting a lot of the things you said you wanted to break that down enough that
Mm-hmm.
you start to ask those questions. So I loved that. I loved everything about it. But more than that, I loved what you said.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I was very impressed and flattered that um, that Brandon came to me first and picked, a topic near and dear to my heart as the topic for his
Yeah.
first consciousness collective. And everybody that's here, what we're talking about is a panel discussion that we were on Saturday night. It went out live, but the recordings are also still available. It was the particular session was called the Consciousness Collective. It was the first episode of this, what will be a series, done by Brandon Thomas, awesome guy, who is the host of Expanding Reality, one of the top podcasts of all podcasts everywhere. He's in like top 0.5%, expandingreality.com. Go to his website, expandingreality.com. Look for that first episode of the Consciousness Collective that aired Saturday night. 2 hours, a panel of, what did we have, 6 or 7 people
Eight.
there? 8 people
Yeah, there
there.
were 8 of us, including Brandon. Yeah.
Amazing people from different disciplines, astrologers and uh, well, Pat, the mindset coach, and me, and a couple other people. The words are escaping me at the moment, but it just was an amazing panel discussion on manifestation and the money and how, why we don't manifest money directly, and just it was just all around just an amazingly wonderful discussion. I mean, I was part of the panel and I still came away with like a page and a half of notes out of the thing.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
it's great.
it was great. Absolutely great. Real quick, I've got to answer a question here. Have I done the
Yeah.
podcast with Anita yet? I have not. We're kind of in limbo until she gets another. It was a special event that she was doing that she wanted me to speak at, and so when she gets another one of those rolling around, which I think is starting soon, actually. She has a 30-day program, and as part of that, she does some, I think, special events on Thursday nights, and I think I'm going to be a part of that next time around. Hi from Brazil. Hey, and where can we rewatch, which we just said. What was the other platform that recording was on? Rockfin? Rockfin?
Rockfin. Yeah.
Okay. So could somebody go to Rockfin and find it there?
As far as I know, you can go right there and search, I would imagine, expanding reality, and yeah, it'll be in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or, of course, just go to his website, expandingreality.com.
Yeah.
And he's just got amazing content. I mean, you don't get to be the top 0.5% of all podcasts by having dull content by any mean.
Yeah.
He's definitely all about expanding your consciousness. So go find that panel discussion from Saturday night. It was just an amazing, amazing experience for me.
Yeah.
I came off of that just feeling so great. It was,
Yeah.
after the week I had, it was a great way to end the week.
Yeah, for sure. So how are you feeling now? Much better?
Feeling better, yeah. I was feeling a little melancholy this evening. I was outside enjoying a lovely sunset and thinking about my mom and just remembering. And I made a little video about it and posted it this evening. But the the sun comes up the next day, and one of her things that she always wanted was, she was like, don't cry for me, Argentina. Keep going. You got a life to live of your
Yeah.
own.
Yeah.
So, been there, done that. Cried a little bit and feel better. Life goes on. So,
Yeah.
thought I'd come on here and be among friends. That always
That's
makes
it.
me feel better.
I love it.
Luna, Luna, this lady that says she saw it live, she says she's replayed it 3 times already, taking notes.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
That is
Uh,
awesome.
somebody else says they can't find it.
Hmm.
Expandingreality.com, and it's called the Consciousness Collective. It's a new program. It's not part of his regular series. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick and give you some better direction.
Yeah.
So, how about you, Mr. Mahan? How's your life?
Going well, going well. Mother's Day is interesting for me also, just because similarly, when I was 14, I lost my mom too, and so that's probably also why this little live happened, just so we could both be, joint minded in a challenging scenario. It doesn't really matter, I think, how long ago it was. I don't think, just like, consciously we can go back and forth in time, but your body stores quite a bit of memory, and we seem to live in loops, and whether it's daily, weekly, or annually, I think that these certain anniversaries or certain holidays trigger that thought cycle and those feelings, and it just kind of like for days before even the day that my mom passed, like without even consciously being aware, I'm kind of like off, and I don't know why. And then eventually I'm like, oh, I know what week it is. It's like stored in me before we're even to the day. So
Right.
she passed on the April 19th, and then so I have like her passing, and then almost a couple weeks right after is like Mother's Day. So it's tricky to navigate that, and so I've been kind of in it since that day. And then so Mother's Day isn't even as bad for me as that day was normally, but I got to say that it's been a transition, and I talk about this a lot on the podcast too, like the transition of how I kind of did my best to shift perspectives on that whole experience, where for decades I was so sad and mad and angry for the day that I lost her, and how it happened. Like the whole thing, I was so angry about that I never allowed myself to sit in gratitude for the time I had her. And so that was like a big shift for me. It was getting to the place where I could kind of remove my fear and anger by processing, dealing with it, releasing it, letting myself be sad, letting myself be angry, but then not judging that. You know what I mean? Like not judging it as weak, not judging it as unwanted. That allowed me to kind of balance out. And then in time, I was able to really finally go back and enjoy a lot of the memories that I did have, and the fact that she was so loving, she was so caring. I did learn so much of who I wanted to be from her. And so now I find this space to really try to sit in gratitude for that. And that allows me to be less sad. And you can even do what like almost like crying happy tears, kind of like there's a shift that happens, and it took me a really long time, but I feel that that's kind of where I'm going with this. That's where I've been. So it's not as dark and heavy as it used to be for sure, but it still has its, there's still that
Yeah.
little, aspect that, wishes she was here and what if it were different. And I consciously know better not to ask those questions, because arguing with reality is not the way to do this. But there's still that part, that like longing. But I usually always feel better kind of like the day after Mother's Day in a weird
Yeah.
way. It's
Yeah.
kind of like that release is like it's been shifted, and it's like, all right, it's time and ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting as far as like I'm reading a book called, interestingly enough, one of my clients in the mentorship recommended a book, and it's called Bending Reality, I think, just on the whole Brandon aspects of expanding reality. And it uses different verbiage. It uses language similar to, like, instead of high vibrational, low vibrational, it uses expanding and contracting. And I love that, because I feel like it's almost a little bit more relatable to a lot of people who maybe just being like entering into this whole, we'll use the word manifestation journey, whereas like using your body to see if you are having a thought process or focus of intention that is contracting you. You can feel when you're contracted, you know what I mean? And the words that they use for contraction are very similar, the same as if you would say low resonance or low vibration. You know what I mean? If you're in fear,
Mm-hmm.
if you're in fight or flight, if you are,
Right.
in a state of shame, lack-based thinking, then you're contracted. Your breath is short. You know what I mean? You're constantly like tense, and you don't want to create from that space. And
Yeah.
therefore, what's being created from that space can only be a contracted version of whatever you're asking for. Whereas if you can read your body and read your mind and sit into a space where you are more open and expanded, this is where you want to create from. This is abundance. This is putting your chest out. This is, deep breathing and belief and faith. And, like
Yep.
that's, so it makes it very relatable to someone who might not be around the woo woo buzzwords that, that I typically use or like really align with. So I like that quite a bit. That's what
Right.
I've been doing for the last little bit.
Yeah, I absolutely recognized that I was not in a state of being to be making content, and so I haven't for the
Yeah.
last few days.
Right.
Fortunately, I had a few in the can that I could post, but
And that's good too.
haven't made anything new. By the way, the website, not to diverge too far for too long,
Yeah.
is expandingrealitypodcast.com.
Mm.
Expandingrealitypodcast.com. And the second big box on the page, you just scroll down to the second one, it says Expanding Reality Live. And the first one under that is the Co-Collective Creative from last Saturday. So
And then that's
expandingrealitypodcast.com. And second big box down, you'll see us. It was an amazing event that we did last Saturday night with a bunch of other people. I'm glad we finally figured that out now that everybody we were talking to about it before is probably gone.
yeah.
And we have all new people, but the new people can go there and check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Expandingrealitypodcast.com. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everybody that's here. Yeah, I'm getting a couple of people that are kind of in the same kind of boat that we are.
Mm-hmm.
Just either not having a good relationship with mom or mom
Mm-hmm.
has passed.
Yeah.
And so Mother's Day is not a pleasant day for us.
Yeah.
In my case, with mom passing away just a few days before Mother's Day, it usually gets me the whole week. It usually, kind of gets worse and worse as it
Yeah.
leads up to yesterday. And then usually about Monday, I go, oh yeah. And then, like you said, you feel better after that. But I haven't had it hit me this hard in a long time. So
Mm.
I'm not quite sure what that means
I
if
think that
I'm.
could be, if I may, ever the optimist. I think that could be a really good thing. I think, and then it almost matches. I'm sure you got some questions over there. I just got a question. Is how do I know when I'm healed? And that's such a challenging question, because it is a subjective thing, right? And I believe it's one of those things where we don't get to dictate what that answer is. I don't. Whereas if maybe Mark, maybe you would have for years before this year, maybe you would have said that your response wasn't that bad, and maybe you feel like you're more healed, everything is good, and then all of a sudden this year comes and it's not a great year. You know what I mean? So like I don't think we get to decide per se as a finality when this universe or when the mirror of you says you're healed. But I think that a good way to recognize healing in yourself is when you when the thoughts shift and there's less emotional attachment of, well, it depends on what it is that you're healing from, of course. And I will say, like, as an asterisk here, that I definitely want to hear what you think too, Mark, but healing from a loss is different. Similar rules can apply, but it's different than healing from like what most people are challenged with, which is like self-induced trauma. You know what I mean? Like staying in a toxic relationship for too long because you don't believe you're worthy of getting out of it. So like the torment of that's a different kind of healing than the loss of a loved one. The grieving of the loss of a loved one is a different kind of healing. So if you're referring to that one, I think that one is one that is beyond subjective, and it takes quite a bit of time to really sit in the space where you feel comfortable thinking about and acknowledging the person who's passed, to the point where you can take what they have taught you about life and love and yourself with you on the journey, where you can honor them more in like more happily and taking them as a part of you and moving forward and creating from that space than you are in shutting down when you think of them and shutting off and closing yourself up again, contracting when you think of them. When you can think of that person you lost and still open because you were so grateful to be a part of their life and that they were a part of yours, and you learned so much and you're eager and ready to take what they offered you onward in your life, like I feel like that is a way that I would label only for myself. Like, yes, I feel more healed than I used to be because I feel more open when I think of them. When it comes to, again, some of the trauma that I created in my own life, it was when I could view situations from my life that I would say were those stamps, and I could view them, and my perspective and perception of them shifted in a way that I no longer hold anyone accountable for anything that I went through or the position that I was in my life, where I could release the entire event from having any power over me and who I am now. That was my definition of how I knew that I was more healed from these scenarios.
Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely done that with other things in my life. For example, when my father passed away, I had a stepmother who did some shady things and manipulated my father's will and
Ooh.
snatched 40 acres of land and a gun collection and a bunch of other stuff away from me. And it took me a long time to be able to think of her and still be, I forgave her a long time ago because I understand why she did it. I understand
Yeah.
who she is and why she did it and what happened.
Yeah.
And if I'm honest with myself, I didn't want most of that stuff anyway. I wouldn't have had anything, known what to do with it, or it would have been a burden at that time had I actually
Yeah.
gotten it anyway.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, you're right, is easier to heal from than uh, my mother. And if you recall, on the collective
Mm-hmm.
Saturday night, I talked about one of the first things was when my mom took me to see a psychic when I was 10 years old.
Yeah. 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 I
Right.
remember.
And my mom fancied herself quite the psychic. We even went and took psychic lessons at one point for a year or so. And I had always, as a child, felt like spiritual presences around me all the time. And since I've been back in this forum and talking about manifestation and opening myself back up to things of a more spiritual nature, I've got my little crystals over here while we're talking, and
Mm-hmm.
um, things like that, and opening myself back up to that world of who I was as a child, I do feel a closeness to my mother again that I hadn't felt in a long time. And
Yeah.
so maybe that's
Yeah.
why it hit me a little harder this year, is
Yeah.
that, she's probably around, and I know that. And
Yeah.
so that's why it hit me a little harder. And I think, to your other points, I think I'm probably healing more. I'm in a position where currently, as I'm teaching other people, I'm also spending a lot of time being very introspective and very much aware of all of my triggers and incidents and situations, and the
Yeah.
words coming out of my mouth and how I behave, and really being very introspective and examining all of that.
Yeah.
So being more open to digging in the dirt, as it were, down in my
Yeah.
soul. So that's probably why too, is because I'm digging out some of that stuff.
When you dig it out,
Right.
it's got to come up and out, right? Like the work that
Yeah,
you've been doing.
yeah,
There's only one place for it to go, right? The only way out is
right.
through.
Yeah. The last time we were on together, you talked about an exercise, and it has a long Hawaiian sounding word.
Ho'oponopono.
Yes, and I did
Uh-huh.
that
Yeah. That can
with
stir up some stuff too.
a younger version of myself that
Yeah.
had some things going on, and we had a little conversation. That was very helpful, right?
Good. Yeah.
Um, so I just wanted to say kudos to you. You know what you're
Yeah.
talking about. You know what you're doing. I tell you what, anybody that's listening, this man here can help you, resolve some stuff. I can tell you that.
Heal and transform.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. I feel better just being here with you. Just
I
it's
love
just,
it. Me
it's
too. Me
just
too.
A healing power. I feel the vibration of his spirit through the phone. Right?
Yeah, I love
So
it. Hmm.
anyway, hi everybody. Hi. We are here to talk about Mother's Day and any negative feelings you might have associated with that. We're also talking about manifestations. So whatever questions you got, throw them at us. Sophia, hey, what's happening? Good to see everybody that's on tonight. Um, Again, just to throw a commercial at the show that we, Pat and I, and a bunch of other really awesome folks did on Saturday night, the Expanding Reality Podcast.com. Go to that website, expandingrealitypodcast.com. We did a thing called the Co-Collective Creative. And it was a live show that went out Saturday night. It's also has been recorded, and the recording is up. I'm looking at it right now. And it was an amazing 2-hour discussion on manifestation from a panel of experts from a variety of fields. And it just, it was amazing. You guys need to go and see it. So, anyway,
Nice.
you got any
How you
questions
doing on
on?
questions over there?
You got anything going on? Let me check my questions here.
Yeah, the
No.
last question I got was the healed question, which was wonderful.
Okay. Well, this is just sort of a general question that
Yeah.
TikTok suggests. What activity brings you peace of mind?
Hmm.
That's a very
You want to go first?
interesting question.
Yeah.
What activity brings you peace of mind? Well, I mean, my first thought was meditation, just that quiet, reflective
For sure.
time. You know, I was about to make a video about my lovely wife.
Hmm.
Being quiet for a lot of people is very difficult, right?
All right.
Because when you're quiet, your mind tends to wander. You go to the past, you go to the future, you have all that anxiety, right? But if you can focus on the present and stay quiet, that is the space in which you can hear, receive, feel those promptings that we've talked about in the past, those feelings of I should go here, I should do this, I should talk to this person in terms of
Yeah.
bringing your manifestations to pass, right?
Hmm.
And uh, Rosa, my wife, has a problem with that because she's number 10 of 16 children. So in her
Wow.
world, and she grew up in Honduras, which at the time of her growing up was the murder capital of the world. She's seen more than her fair share.
Hmm.
And so in her world, being alone and quiet is not safe.
Mm.
Only in a group of people in a noisy environment full of activity. That is comfort. That is safety. That is, and she's always got to have the TV on, always got to be crashing around making noise, always got to be talking. And I'm like, why are you so afraid of the quiet? And
Yeah.
we started talking about it one day, and we realized that quiet is not a safe place for her, or it
Mm.
wasn't before, but she's learning. She's learning how to be quiet.
Yeah. It's interesting because a lot of, I guess, like one of the rules of thumb to keep in mind, no pun intended, is that a lot of times once people start to meditate and they're, the whole, you're not necessarily at first quieting your mind. You are trying to reduce your distractions, right? Like in meditation, right? You want to be still, you want to be quiet, you want to be in a nice peaceful space with no interruptions. And so what we're doing is we're quieting the ambient noise. And then what that does is it reveals the actual volume on the internal noise that is always
Mm,
present, but we are trying to outrun and distract ourselves from and distort. So that's the part where people are like, no, I can't do that because my mind starts racing. And I'm like, your mind has always been racing. You become much more aware of it
it's
when you
just now
reduce
you can hear
outside
it
noise.
because there's no
Right.
noise.
So
Yeah.
right. So the understanding is that, like, well, first you have to be able to reduce the ambient volume so that you can without fear to the best you can, and without avoidance, listen to the internal dialogue, which is present always and behind the scenes running the show as to what you do and how you distract yourself. It's there, you can hear it, but you're not paying attention to the fact that you can hear it. It's under the surface there. So when you can be aware of what you say over and over again on a loop, by being able to quietly sit with whatever those thoughts are, because that's what's manifesting your life. It is the
Right.
thoughts that you are thinking, and it
Mm.
is how you emotionally align to them, whether you're aware of it or not. And it that does affect the actions and the behaviors that you take. So it is a non-physical thing, taking action on a physical thing that produces a result in the world. It just is the way that it is. So it's being able to like find that quiet space to
Yep.
listen to what you say, figure out what the repetitive patterns of what you say are, and then call bullshit on the ones that aren't serving you anymore, and really kind of try to do your best to enhance the parts of you that are thriving. That's the thing. So yours is meditation. I ride my mountain bike like multiple times a week, because I can truly find myself in a space where I'm like, I'm right where I want to be. I'm in nature. I'm on a trail. I'm on my bike. It's physical. I have to be focused right where I am. I can't really be messing around thinking
Right.
about some
Right.
things. And so that among a couple other things, of course, meditation and when I am involved in any of the mentorship, clients that I have and the work that I do, I can't be anywhere else really. So basically any place that I have to be right where I am, I find that to be
Yeah.
incredibly powerful for me.
Any place that sort of forces you to quietly focus. Like I just
Yeah.
realized as you said riding your bike, I was like, yeah, mowing the grass does the same thing for me.
Yeah.
You have
Same
to pay
thing. It's just,
attention to what you're doing, and
yeah.
even though it's the the loud lawnmower, still you're in your mind here with nothing but the
Yeah.
noise of the mower and focused on what you're doing. And but at the same time, your mind and spirit can still go other places. Couple of really great questions over here now, and I want to get to both of them. Andrea, I'm going to get to yours in a second. Don't go away. But
I have one
Marissa,
here too after yours, because I want to ask you the one that they asked me also. So go first, and then
now
I'll
we've
finish
got
up
a
there.
ton of questions, so don't
Of
anybody
course
go
we do.
anywhere. Oh
Don't
my
go anywhere.
gosh. All right, so somebody wants me to repeat the link. It's expandingrealitypodcast.com. Expandingrealitypodcast.com. Go to the second big box down, and the right under that, you'll see a little box for the Expanding Reality Co-Collective Creative that we did last Saturday. That's the show that we were directing you to. But first question, and these are big topics, but we got to do our best to be able to get to everybody's question here. My mom is a narcissist. Can I heal that relationship?
You want me to take that one?
I can't touch it.
Well, I mean, we have to use some of the fundamental rules of understanding here. And one is that we have to take the label of mom out of the picture, because we're dealing with your journey. So a lot of times people will allow other people in relationships to treat them a certain way because of the title that the person is given. Well, what do you want me to do? It's my dad. And I'm here to tell you, with ultimate love and respect for your mother, for you, for anyone else involved, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Someone's title or name does not give them. So that being said, I just want to say that if I know that might be challenging, because I'm sure that there's some deep connection one way or another with that person. But the answer is that no, they don't get to treat you this way just because they're your mother. So the second thing is we're gonna talk about the label of narcissistic and what that means in reality, and then what that means to you. So I would imagine what that means is that you believe that she is egoically controlling, egocentric, and manipulative. That's essentially like the average quick 30-second or less. My battery is flipping out here, of what a narcissist would be. So then the question is, how is that energy, because it's energy, using words and behaviors to have an effect? How is that relationship having an effect on you? There is a way to still maintain a relationship with a person who does that, but be able to set boundaries within yourself and your experience so that that energy doesn't touch you, and how you feel about yourself and how you navigate your day. There absolutely, I work with a lot of people that where it gets to the point where the person who is displaying these narcissistic temperaments towards a person in a family or a friendship, where it gets too much, when you would start to pull away, and create your own boundaries and space to protect yourself, that the manipulation gets too great from the narcissist who believes they're losing control. And I've seen people have to stop relationships completely. So I could never say, hard line, yes or no, you can or cannot heal, but it is going to come down to you and your boundaries within yourself. If you are sacrificing yourself to keep a relationship with anyone, it's unhealthy, and I don't recommend it. It doesn't matter who or what that person
Yeah.
is.
I mean, at the end of the day, you don't have control over anybody else but yourself. And so it's your choice. Do you want to live with that relationship the way it is, or do you want to set your boundaries and try to get some space? Because ultimately you can't control anybody else. So,
For sure. Right.
I mean, you
Sure.
can have conversations, you can have honest and open communication, but unless that person wants to get their own help and they want to change, there isn't going to be anything that you're going to be able to do about that, unfortunately.
Right.
All right. So the other one here, I realized I've done a total obsession with money, but I have no idea how to change this.
Mm.
It depends on where your obsession comes from, Andrea. Does your obsession come from fear of not having it? Or does your obsession come from power and prestige of having it, the ability to control others, the feeling of accomplishment? I mean, it could be positive things as well. What is it? What is the motivation for having the obsession with money? What does money do for you, is my question. And I'll look for your answer if you're still around. You totally resonate with my wife, Rosa, who just came home, by the way. She just walked in the door. Let me help you become financially free and stable. Yeah, I don't. Okay. I'm the outcast box. I have less contact with her. Okay. So I think we've covered everything on my side until I get an answer from Andrea, if she's still around, about what it is that's causing the obsession.
Okay.
Go.
I have one that I just wanted to respond that said that you listen, I'm imagining, to the podcast for hours at work. Thank you very much for that. I don't know what kind of work you do, but I'm grateful that it allows for you to do that. And someone said, I just saw the ghosting video. You understand why that person does that? Yeah, you can set your clock to that, as far as, like, I just did a video on ghosting, the energy of a person that ghosts someone else. So yes, it's almost, I've never not seen it be that. So I'm grateful that you liked it and it resonated. The question is, what manifestation are you the most proud of? Now, I know proud is an interesting word, but yeah, what manifestation are you the most proud of?
Well, I love them all, but for different reasons.
Mm,
The one I'm most proud of is my lovely wife. She was a direct intention, directly
yeah,
defined. She too had defined what she was looking for, and the universe brought us together because we happen to be a match. Definitely one of the most amazing, best things ever
yeah,
in my life was the creation of that relationship. Definitely the proudest. But I mean, every time it happens, no matter how big or small, I'm still surprised and delighted. My house was probably the one I did with the most confidence
mm,
right from the beginning. We knew what we were doing. We made the list. We did the envisioning, and we set about getting out to find it. And I started to have this recurring vision of exactly how it would work out that we would find the house
mm,
in a relatively improbable way, and that's exactly how it happened.
Yeah.
And that whole process, which probably took about 4 or 5 weeks just to find it, was probably the most confident I've ever been. Even as we ran up against a time deadline,
Yeah.
I was told my wife, I was like literally in the last possible week for us to be able to make this happen. I said, that's when it's going to happen, and here's how it's going to happen. And it happened exactly like that, and exactly
Yeah.
at that time, and we got exactly what we wanted in exactly the right place. And I don't think I've ever had anything work out so exactly before as my
Yeah.
house. But I was just confident in it right from minute one, as soon as we started. I just
That's
knew it.
so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
For me, for sure, to match for sure the relationship I'm in. My Gina, who's Heal with Gina on Instagram, she does similar things, and is into holistic health, wellness, and plant-based eating and Reiki, like the same like energy of everything. But like our journey, our paths kind of connected in such an amazing, wild way, and it never stopped. Like there were some times where we were separated. There were some times where we had to work on ourselves. There were some times where we were like, never thought we were going to get back together, but we always kind of like knew we were gonna. And then once it came back, it was just like the most, like sometimes this universe does certain things to let you know how powerful you are and how powerful it is and what it can do.
Mm-hmm.
And that is exactly how this worked with myself and Gina. It still blows me away when I talk about it on the podcast sometimes. And that's definitely the one that whenever, if there's ever any doubt or any times where I'm just like struggling in a void, I can think about how this brought us together, and I'm like, nope, I just gotta recalculate. See, I was gonna use that word, and I didn't even try. I wasn't even trying, bro. I wasn't even trying. But yes, I know that I have to recalculate myself, and I think about how the universe brought us together, and it makes it very, very easy to do that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Oh, wow. Another question over here. How do you stop sacrificing yourself to keep relationships that is not beneficial to you? Uh, Personally, I think that's about, well, there's a couple of possible reasons for that and how to get out of it. So, one is you've been taught since early childhood to be the one who always shares with other people, the one who always serves other people, the one that always has to make other people happy. You were just taught that from a very early age. You were taught to sacrifice yourself. You don't have to do that, by the way. Number two is it's about valuing yourself and valuing your own worth and valuing your own uh, worth as in like how other people should treat you, right? They
Mm-hmm.
will treat you in a manner that you allow them to treat you. And if you stop allowing them to treat you that way and then they leave because of that, then the whole reason they were with you was because they wanted to dominate you, not because they cared
Right.
about you.
Right.
Um, so don't be afraid of losing that relationship. If you lose that relationship, it was a very unhealthy relationship to begin with. But you
Yeah.
have to value yourself enough to know that you are worthy of a relationship where that partner that you're with is going to treat you with dignity and respect. So, begin to envision a relationship where you are treated the way you deserve to be treated as a human being,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
not abused in any way.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's something that I kind of like offer as suggestions also. Sometimes this is something that we have to look at from the top down instead of where we are and then forward, because sometimes it can be difficult to get out of where we are currently, belief system wise, emotional structure, your thought process, your perception of life and reality and how things should work. Sometimes it's difficult to get out of that energy to source the answer to the question. Like what Einstein said, that you can't solve a problem using the same, basically, to paraphrase, using the same energy that you use to create it. You can't use that same energy to solve the problem. So
Right.
what I like to suggest is that a lot of the times we're trying to go inside of the mind and concept of the person who is struggling to find the answer. So what that means is that it might be difficult for me at my lowest state when I don't have a highest degree of self-confidence. I'm not sure how I would act in certain situations like that reference the answer. So I'm going to go inside of my low self-worth and my low victim story or my value to try to figure out how to have a healthy relationship with this person. So sometimes from the top down, what you can do, most people don't spend enough time trying to articulate what their best version looks like. Most people don't spend enough time articulating and mapping out and imagining what the healthy version of them looks like and feels like. And so the answer will actually be solved for you the more time you spend knowing that you are worth writing out what the highest version of your calling looks like and feels like. And then as you begin to write out and map out what that looks like, what you might do, and just do your best. It'll be a progressive thing. What would you do? How would you act? How would you feel? How would you want to act? How would you want to feel? How do you want to respond? What does the best version of you do in XYZ situation? A lot of the times, it's almost like setting up a paper tiger in an argument, where you if you're talking about you in an argument, it's difficult. But if you use someone else in the same argument, it's easy to come up with the answer because you're not attached to it. So sometimes if you can just build this version of you the best you can, and then say, what would that person do? You will be amazed that you'd be like, oh, that person would blah, 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 blah. That person wouldn't let it blah, 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 blah. Like, that's your answer. So
Right.
it's getting out of the concept of self that you believe you are by allowing yourself to dream big and know you are worthy of creating a version of you that is healthy and sets boundaries and creates from a safe, healthy space. It's really spending the time to map out what that looks like so that your mind, your consciousness, and your manifesting power has a place to go. Otherwise, there's no roadmap. You want to be specific with what you want and then let it progressively come to you, however it's going to come to you.
Right. Right on every point. I just love listening to you because you're this fountain of knowledge. Somebody's asking quickly, does that same energy translate to the working world? Absolutely. It translates to every relationship that you have. Every friendship, every family relationship, every working relationship, all of them. Everything applies across the board all the way. All right. See, you made fun of me the first time we were on together for doing that.
I did?
Yeah, for acknowledging the comments, for acknowledging.
Well, people are so amazing and they're sending me things, and this is
right.
still very, very new to me. So
and you want to acknowledge them and say thank you, and
yes.
and
I
people come on and say hello, and you want to go hello, and it's like
I didn't
the first time.
I get it.
It's funny, the first time we were on together, I was trying to acknowledge the comments while he was talking, and I was like,
what
thank
are you
you,
doing?
and I was like, hello, and he thought I was flirting with him, and I'm like, yeah, I think my wife would have a problem with that.
But I'm incredibly, incredibly grateful. Again, this is new to me, so I'm like every time.
Right. Yeah, so he understands now. He's got people on his side he's trying to acknowledge. So, hey, Crystal, what's happening? Good to see ya. Welcome. It's a little late for you, Crystal, isn't it? What is it? It's got to be like 3 o'clock in the morning or something. That's crazy.
My last one on here is this is basically a very similar answer that I would give is how can I manage social anxiety and increase my confidence? I don't even want to say this, but it's the same answer. It's the same answer. Like the social anxiety pulls a different place. And actually Mark's answer from before I answered leads more into the social anxiety part of it. But the increase my confidence part, if you can do something, actually, you know what? I'll give you something else also. If you could do your best to build that concept of what your higher self would be. And by higher self, again, just a label, but a future version of yourself that is doing things that you would want to have happen for you. You would want to be this person. Who is this best version of you that you can imagine? And the way that I like to do this is imagine 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 3 years ago, there was a version of you that existed in this moment now, but 3 years ago, this moment hadn't manifested yet. So if 3 years ago you set certain intentions in your life, and then followed those intentions to the degree that you were willing to go into the source of your, mindset and your belief systems, you now are the physical manifestation of 3 years ago's intentions, right? So that means that you now existed back then in infinite potential among infinite other possibilities. So right now, if you want to get really clear on what it is that you want 1 year from now to look like, that will happen. It already exists. 1 year from now, you exists. It already exists. It's done already. It exists in infinite potential, but in order to get there, you have to be clear on which version you want to look like. You have to believe it's possible. You have to set specific intentions, and you have to walk in faith towards whatever feels good and feels like it's on the right track. And if something feels like you don't know if it's on the right track or not, but it doesn't feel bad, then do it. And by bad, I mean, like, if it goes against your moral values, if it goes against your, you know what I mean? Like your systems, then don't do it. But like, if it's like just a little uncomfortable, sometimes you have to do it. That's going to be something you can do by building your best self. Here's the thing that will stop you from doing that. When Mark and I were talking earlier about, like, when you're meditating, you're not now listening to the voices in your head getting louder. They're always that loud. We're just used to distracting ourselves from them. So we create more chaos in our external world to hide the voice of our internal resonance. So when you lower the external volume and you sit inside of your internal world, you just now see how loud these things are shouting things at you. Yeah. So that voice is a representation of some of the energy that's stored in your body and your subconscious. It's put the labels and verbiage that you are familiar with in your language to a storyline that you believe is you. And it has existed from the first time you came into this world and were projected upon by your whoever in your family. And then that built the story of you. Inside of that are judgments, criticisms, chaotic conversations, anything that you can think of that would prevent you from letting all of that go and realizing how powerful you are. So what I like to do is, there's an exercise I call the unconscious critic, and I'm just going to give this to you. It's literally right out of like week 2 of the program that I do. We spend the entire day/week on this. It's called the unconscious critic, and we can all do this, and it takes 2 seconds. You take a piece of paper and you draw this. Did we do this before, Mark?
I don't think so.
And I know this is going to be the best drawing you've ever seen. Boom. You see that? You take a piece of paper and you draw that. And then what you do is, because we're going to find out what's preventing you from getting to the space that you want to in a week from now, in a month from now, in a year from now. It's not going to be who you truly are powerfully as this human being force of manifestational magic. It's not going to be that, because that is who you are. It's going to be a belief about why you don't think you're that. That's what we have to address and release. So what you want to know is that when you quiet your space and allow your mind to upheave the conversation that is going pro and against every moment, right? Your mind can't be you, because you're aware of it battling back and forth with both sides of an argument of one particular topic, right? Like, you're going to do this. This is going to be the best week of your life. You do what you need to do. You write it out. You get up early. You drink more water. You do this. Yeah, I can do it. And then all of a sudden, in the next second, no, you can't. You're not going to do it. Remember the last time you tried to do that? You were a piece of shit. You're going to oversleep. No, I can do it. So you can't be either of these things, because you're observing both of them. You are the awareness observing both of the ping pong match of your can and cannot do list. So what you want to do is figure out who is saying that you can't. So what you do is, and this takes a little bit of courage and bravery, because we have been running from and distracting ourselves from the voice that says can't do. We don't want to hear it. It represents too much pain. It represents too much suffering. We want to run from that as fast as we can, because we believe these things are true about us. So since we believe they're true, we want to run from them and put out our best self and hide this from everyone. But that's not the way to get through it. It's going to keep manifesting itself over and over and over again in crazy situations in reality for you to face it. So you want to nip it in the bud. And what we're going to do, what I would ask you to do, is inside of this little human figure here, I would want you to write down all of the belief systems that come up that are not for you, meaning like not helpful, not serving you in any way. I am no good at this. I don't know what to do. I suck at everything. I fail. Things never work out for me. I can't do anything right. I always mess this up. My dad was right. My dad was right. Da, da, da. I want you to fill this entire bust with any and every negative comment that you can imagine. And now what I want you to do is imagine that absolutely everything inside of this human figure was not you saying it to yourself, but was someone else that you were handcuffed to 24 hours a day. And their only job was to shout these things at you incessantly over and over. They couldn't stop. They don't know how. They just keep shouting these things over and over and over again. I want to ask you how you would respond to that external person. If this was just somebody that you met and they handcuffed you and they were like, you're a piece of shit. You're no good at this. You think you're going to do what in a week? You can't do that. You couldn't do any of this before. You're garbage. Blah, blah, blah. Remember what happened when you were 12? How are you ever going to live that down? Remember you got the answer wrong in school when you raised your hand and everybody started laughing at you? What a joke. You can't do anything. You think you're ever going to be better than who you are? Never. Like, what if that was this dude's job and they were... How would you treat them? I promise you that they would not last 5 minutes. They might not last 2 minutes before you bite the chain off and get rid of them. Some, I believe, of the things that they say, you would probably defend yourself against. It's like, that's not true. I can do something. You might even defend against this person and the commentary that they give you. But you'll let yourself say it to you over and over again and believe it. So the more you can call whatever you put on here, whatever you can call out BS on, then that's the first part of the job. The next part of the job is anytime, now that you're aware of all of these things, because you've been brave enough to face it, the next time that you hear something like that consciously in your experience, the next time you're walking, you've already said it was dead. You are no good at this. We proved this is a lie. We're not going to believe this anymore. We do not agree. So the next time you hear that come up when you're trying to go get your goal or write your best self, and it says, you're not work. Nope. You dead it immediately. Nope. I'm aware of that. We've already called that bullshit. Boom. Shift your attention immediately. There's no value for you trying to search for you being valuable in a lie that says you're not valuable. And you can go down the list one by one. And I'm just proof, if I can offer that to you, that you will get to the point where you have uncovered so many of these limiting belief systems, and you have been able to kind of like, I call them check systems. You'll be able to have them arise and say, no, that the voice on your internal volume will lower tremendously. And now the next time you meditate, it will actually be peaceful. That's how you build confidence. That's how you can lower anxiety. And that's how you can stay more present in the moment without your mind racing to a previous conscious experience or projecting anxiety on a future, which will only be now anyway when you get there. It's a very powerful exercise.
That is a great one. I had heard of that before, and I'd never done it.
Yeah.
But now that you mention it, as you were saying that, several things came to mind that I would write inside there. And I'm like, hey, you're right. If that was an external person, I would not spend a lot of time with that person. I wouldn't necessarily be rude, but I'd be like, yeah, okay, thank you for
thank you so much. Right.
Appreciate
I
that.
love that you think that. Yeah. It leads almost in the last, I have to go here in a second, but the last quote here, somebody wrote basically, how do I not care about others' opinions? Mark just did it. It's a beautiful lead in. Others' opinions of you are none of your business. And that's a very famous Dr. Phil quote, but it's none of your business what other people think of you, because what other people think about you is only simply going to be a projection of how far they have consciously aligned themselves. It'll be a projection of something inside of them. So just like Mark just said, like, I'm not mad at you. You can think and say whatever you want. I'm not going to be rude, but it doesn't serve me. Thank you for your time. Like, that's how you treat other people who you would imagine are projecting something that you should care about onto you if it doesn't serve you.
Think of it this way. The version of me that lives in Pat's head is not me. It's a version of me that he's created of me based on what's inside of him and his observations of me. And the version of Pat that lives in my head is a version of Pat that I've created out of my interactions with Pat and what's already inside of me. So the version of you inside somebody else's head is what they're talking about. They're not even talking about you. They're talking about the version of you that lives inside their head.
You don't get a better answer than that. That's it. That's what we're going to leave on. And then someone just asked, you beautiful human you, when will the next live be? We should probably do this again. should probably schedule this.
Tonight was by chance. It's a beautiful time every time we do it. Let's do that. Let's find a day and time, however often you want to do it. I'm up for it. Let's do it.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. Well, let's see. Do you definitely follow me? Let's see.
Yeah, of course.
What's that?
I said, of course.
Yeah, I want to figure out a way to let you know.
Do you not have my email address? We'll
No, I have
exchange
you on here.
information.
I don't know how to let Debster Werfster know. How do I let her know?
Oh, you would have to follow that person and then message them directly. Or you would have to make a video at some point announcing,
Boom.
hey,
That's what
I'm going to be
do.
on live every X day or every other Thursday or whatever we decide, once a month, whatever it is. Okay?
I love it.
And we'll just set it up.
Do it again.
Done.
Boom. I love you guys. Thank you so much. And yes, Mark, now I understand why I say thank you to everyone here and for being here. This is great. So yeah, we should definitely do this again. We'll do it this weekend if you're free.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm up for it.
All right.
Have a great evening. I've got to go too. Rose is here. I'm going to go snuggle my bride.
Perfect. Make a video and we'll be there. I love that. All right, cool. I'll make a video and we'll be there. And so will you. I love you guys.
We'll figure it out and we'll promote it and we'll do it. All right.
Bye.
Peace.